Oh, now that's what I call an entrance. Hiya, Bill, my hero. Glad to see you.
You're my hero,
son of a gun.
Stanley.
But nobody told me not to dress.
Well, I'll undress if
you're beautiful.
Stan, it's so good to see you.
Good to be here.
We worked together on Tech War. You won't remember this, but you sent me a Christmas thing, a postcard, and you had drawn it, and it's a favorite. I've got it framed, and it's on my wall.
Really? Why don't you try selling it? It's got to be worth $1 or $2 by now.
Hey, if I sign it, it'll be worth $3. So, it's a pleasure to see you for a number of reasons. All of us in America and Canada read comic books, and it became part of our culture and part of the way we imagine stories. So when we got to books and Gothic novels, and comic books were a huge influence on the way we thought. And I think that's a major factor in horror films today. But go back to a story. Take the Spider-Man. How does the Spider-Man come about? Where does Spider-Man start?
Well, I've mentioned many times before, I have told this story so often that for all I know, it might even be true. But it is really, see, when I came up with these various characters, I never dreamed that they catch on the way they did, that someday I'd be speaking to William Shatner in a TV studio, and I mean, I just
and
did
having
him.
The largest film that ever
Well, that too.
Box office, but
so I just would write the thing, give it to my publisher, and hope that he would say okay, hope it would sell, so I'd keep my job and I'd keep getting my salary. And I didn't write down, I gotta remember, how did I think of it and what was it? And I've got no memory at all.
Right.
But I can give you a guess as to how it happened. I had already done the Fantastic Four and the Hulk. Now, those two books consisted, the Hulk was the strongest living human being, if you call him human. The Fantastic Four had somebody who could burst into flame and fly, an invisible girl, a guy whose body could stretch, and a monster who really was a nice guy with a sense of humor. And I was thinking, all right, my publisher thought those are doing well, give me another one. So I figured, where do I go from there?
Yeah, you've already got every character you could think of.
So I saw a fly on the wall. Now, I don't want you to think my house is full of flies. It just happened there was one fly on the wall.
That year.
And I figured, and the big thing with coming up with the superhero, you have to think of a new power, a superpower.
Right.
And it occurred to me, hey, why not have a superhero who can stick to walls like an insect, you see? Okay, then I needed a name. So I went through a list. Insect Man, that didn't do it. Fly Man, I don't know. Mosquito Man, I got to Spider Man. Well, you'd appreciate this. It sounded dramatic, sounded a little bit sinister and mysterious. But it wasn't that easy, Bill. It wasn't that easy. And I wanted him to be a teenager, because I've hated teenage sidekicks in stories. I always thought if I were a hero, there's no way on earth I'd pal around with some teenager.
Not only are you palling, you have to lug him with. You have to defend him all the time.
And be responsible.
And be responsible. And teenage, you don't want to do anything with an underage person.
That's right. At the very least, people would talk, you know.
And murmur and whisper. So
I wanted the hero to be a teenager, and this time he's a hero. He's not a sidekick. The other thing I wanted, because I tried in my own bumbling way to make these things as believable as a superhero fantasy can be. So I thought I'll make him have every problem known to man. He's got to worry about money. He's a little bit of a nerd. Girls don't particularly like him. The guys don't even like him. He has an aunt who's always ill, and he has to worry about
an aunt being a good idea for a Spider-Man.
Oh, I didn't think Very good. I wish you had been with me when I was doing those
I'd have
things.
been your teenage sidekick.
Oh, gee, that's funny. So at any rate, I presented the idea to my then publisher. He hated it. The first thing he said was, Stan, people hate spiders. You can't make a Spider-Man a hero.
And a reasonable thought, too, that is.
Well, he was a reasonable man. Then he said, you can't have a hero be a teenager. They can only be sidekicks. Finally, he said, and you want him to have problems? Because I was going to have him worry about money, dandruff, acne, allergy attacks, you name it. That was going to be Peter Parker. He said, don't you know what a hero is? I admitted I didn't. So he didn't want to use the thing, and I had to sneak it into a magazine months later. And I featured him on the cover just to get it out of my system, and I forgot about it.
Are we talking Marvel then?
Well, in those days it was called Timely, or no, it was called Atlas Comics. They were always changing their name.
So how did you sneak it onto a cover without him?
We had a magazine that we were about to kill called Amazing Fantasy.
Oh, yes.
And when you're going to publish the last issue of a book, as you know, nobody cares what you put into it. The book is dying.
Well, I don't know that.
Well, you do now. And incidentally, I'm a little upset. I do not see you taking notes.
It's all being recorded.
At any rate, I put it in Amazing Fantasy, and I featured him on the cover, and as I said, nobody would care. It's the last book goodbye. A couple of months later, we got our sales figures. It took that long in those days. And my publisher came in to me, and he said, hey, Stan, you remember that spider character of yours that we both liked so much? Why don't we make a series out of it? And we found out it had gotten the best sales figures of it, just like the movie did so well now. That there's something about
something
Spider-Man.
about the character, something about
I guess.
what you've placed in there. As a writer,